All right. Well, hello, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Ben. I utilize he, they pronouns, and I am just the starting point of this amazing conversation we're going to have today. I'm just doing a little intro. So we are doing our virtual conversation series with leadership. So as you're entering, if you want to go ahead and just let us know who is here, introduce yourself in the chat. We ask that if you are comfortable to go ahead and add your name, your pronouns, and where you're joining us from today. And we're going to quickly look through the chat to kind of see who is in community with us today as we get started. All right. Some Boise State, Minneapolis, so fun. Yes, all right. Throughout our time today, please utilize that chat feature as much as you would like. We'll be monitoring that, so we do encourage you to use it as much as possible. So we did want to start us off with a land acknowledgement. So leadership would like to begin our conversation session today by acknowledging the land each of us is on today is the original homelands of Indigenous and tribal nations. We acknowledge the painful history of genocide and forced removal from these territories, and we honor and respect the many diverse Indigenous peoples still connected to this land. Please honor and acknowledge the Native and Indigenous peoples from the land that you are joining us from, and give thought to your ancestry and the generations that came before you. Here at Leadership, we do have a mission and vision, and they are fantastic. So the mission is going to be to transform the world by increasing the number of people who lead with integrity and a healthy disregard for the impossible. And that vision is going to be a just, caring, and thriving world where all lead with integrity and a healthy disregard for the impossible. All right, I'm now going to stop sharing my screen and let our facilitator take over.
Hello, everybody. You want me to take it from here, Ben?
Yep, you're good. And I have a couple
All
people
right.
I'm going to admit from the waiting room as well.
Please do. Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you and be back in this community. I was just telling Abby when we got on the call, this spring is 20 years since I joined the Leadership family, and I love being here with all of you and sharing my favorite work going on right now. So I like to say to people as I begin this session is called Design Thinking for Your Career, and we're actually going to design your life in the next hour. So plan on being active, have it be active time. We're going to have one breakout where you share your noticings with each other, and we're going to have active work time to spend on ideation and working on what's next for you in your next chapter in your career or your life. So if you're eating your lunch, if you're behind the screen not paying attention, I'm going to ask you to come to us, set some things aside, be present, because the greatest gift that I can give you is time to think and work on just yourself. Today is about you. So I'm Katie Selby. I use she, her pronouns. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I have been involved with leadership for just about 20 years as a co-lead facilitator. And I spent a lot of time at Purdue University and the University of Minnesota working in career and leadership development. And now I own a business called Quarter Life Coach, doing coaching and all kinds of fun designing your life activities. So I offer you today, my offer for you is time and space to use the design thinking platform to work on yourself, to work on your, and you can make that mean whatever you'd like, whatever's meaningful for you at this time. But I'll just ask you to try it all on and see what's there for you. I'm going to drop a link to some worksheets in the chat if you're someone who wants to work on paper, or you're someone who wants to have this up on your screen as we're working. This is helpful for you, or you want to take it along with you. I'm also curious to know, are there people out there who've used the Designing Your Life curriculum from Stanford on your campus? I know it's being used quite a bit in first-year experience programming or in career programming. So give me a hand up if you've used it or you know it well, or put a note in the chat if you've used Designing Your Life frameworks and programming with your students. I would just love to know your experience. So let me know that and share with other people as well. I'm going to share my screen. I was going to say I'm going to miss out on all your beautiful faces, but a lot of you are still hiding. So I'm going to share my screen anyway. We're going to start with just what is this all about? This design thinking applied to our life. It sounds a little bit technical, but I will share with you my story about how impactful it's been for me and for a lot of my clients and students, and invite you to come along for the ride. So design thinking for your career. This is the traditional design thinking framework that the world has been using since the 70s. So traditional design thinking framework used to design products and services all over the world since the 1970s. It's attributed to David Kelly, who is the founder of the D School at Stanford, also founder of the really famous product design firm ideate. And this is what it looks at. So it starts with observing the user, like looking at how the user uses something, what they're missing, what they're expecting, wow, what they hope to have, how they're using it differently than you thought. Defining really specific problems that the user is having and thinking about what you want to work on, what problems you're going to tackle. Wild ideation to get all the possibilities out on the table to take a look at what could be possible as you design forward. Prototyping, which is trying things in small ways in an effort, all in an effort for learning to see what's working and what's not working going forward. And then finally testing with the market to see how this works, how your new solutions work in the market. When you take this framework and you take it away from designing products like our phones or our cars or our chairs or whatever it may be, and you think about using it for your life or your career, here's how it changes. You become the user of this life you've designed or this career that you've designed, and you get to become the observer of your own life, which is, I think, some of the magic and the power of this framework used in this way. So you are the user and your career is the product. And I often say we expect our phones to change every 12 months or whatever cycle Apple has us on these days. And so why is it that we often don't expect our lives to change as the needs change, as the world change, the pandemic turned us all upside down? Or why don't we expect our careers to change along the way? So today we're going to take a look at how have your needs changed? How has the environment changed? What do you need right now? What ideas do you have lingering? And what are small ways that you can prototype going forward? So just once again, I dropped a link to the handouts in the chat. And Ben, if the new people come in, could I ask you to maybe copy that and put it in the chat one more time? Thank you so much. My producer, Ben, I love it. So we're going to take a look at how do we apply this to our own lives. So we're going to do 3 activities today. The first is in observing. Let's just really take a look at what's going on right now. How's it going, career and life? We're going to spend some time in ideation. And then we're going to spend some time talking about prototyping. So get ready, get your pens ready, put your phone away, close that screen over there. Don't need email right now. Join us. We're going to design your own life. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is just take 10 minutes and list 10 activities that you do in an average week. And I like to include work and rest of life. If it would be most helpful for you in the next hour to really focus on, and I'd say just make those 10 activities related to work. I encourage you to break out work tasks, like if you are teaching multiple classes, list out each of those classes. If you have meetings that are with one person, maybe with someone on your team, a colleague, your supervisor, list that separately. Then when you go to meetings with multiple people, big committee meetings or team meetings, try to differentiate the different ways that you spend your time each day. And we're just going to take about 2 minutes and go with your gut, whatever comes with your up for your gut. 10 activities that you do in an average week in your work life. And I'm going to share a little music if it works, and I'll give you 2 minutes. Okay, I'm going to give you one more step to keep going on this. As you think about how you spend your time each week, life or work, now I'm going to ask you to just put this data to use in a visual way. So we're going to do a little energy mapping. In this example on the screen, this is an example from my friend Sarah. So we have this midline. If you have the worksheets in front of you, the link that I sent out, you could do that on the worksheets, or you can just take a look at how it's formatted there. Above the line are things that are energy giving. And so, for instance, we have coaching on my example that's energy giving, curriculum development, etc. And below the line are things that are energy draining. So the longer the line that I drew above the midline, that means the more energy it gives me. And the longer the line, obviously below the midline, is the more energy it takes from me. And then notice that some things are both positive and negative. Some things give me energy and drain my energy, depending on circumstances, who I'm with, what time of day, what we're working on, whatever. So take that list of 10 things that you do in a given day, and now just plot them on your energy map. What regularly gives you energy and what regularly drains you. We'll take 3 more minutes to do that. So enjoy your time. All right, I'm going to let our music ending, lead our cutoff. So as you look at your energy map, I love that this is like a physical representation for us to observe our own life for a minute. I love that this concept of, can we pause once in a while and just take a look at what's going on, like what's really going on in our lives? This example, from one of my friends, Sarah, the energy map, asks us now, what do you notice when you look at those energy trends over all of it? What are the things that consistently come up for you? And in this example, a map example from my friend Sarah, this is her current work life and how she mapped things the last time we did this together. And here are the things that she noticed. So 3 of the things that are really energy giving on our map are things that she does alone. She loves teaching and working with her team, but being around large groups of people is really and a couple things that she thinks about what could be small changes in her day that she could try to balance her energy. One is to break up large group activities with solo work time to recharge. In those days when she does have control of her calendar, she likes to be teaching or be in large events, but then have some focus time in her office to kind of recharge and restore herself. And she recently bought a house and got married. And so she is finding that she just needs some time that's just for her, restorative time at home as well. So one small change that she'd like to try is have one night a week that's just for her, just alone. She loves to read, she loves yoga. I know she loves long baths as well. And so one night a week that's just for her, no friends, no family, no work commitments, no partner. And so as you take a look at your own energy trends, what do you notice? What are things that consistently fill you up? What are things that consistently drain you? A couple things that I noticed the first time that I did this activity for me was I have 2 kids at home, and at the time they were even smaller. And bedtime for me, the bedtime routine took every last ounce of energy I had at the end of the day. It was this whole 90-minute like songs and stories, and it was really fun. Toothbrush app, but it was really taking a lot out of me. Another thing that I noticed was that in the morning time, energy for meetings and meeting with students and those kinds of things. I really love being with my teams in the morning. My work office was also right next to our office kitchen. And so just people were popping in all the time as they were putting their lunch away and getting breakfast. And in the afternoon, I had more focused time to work on budgets or presentations or things like that. And so I started to structure my schedule as best I can for social meeting time in the morning and more focused time at the end of the day. So think about that in your own reflection, and I'm going to ask you to share that with other people in a group. So be live with other people in real conversation. Please turn your camera on if you're able. And I'm going to ask you to spend, let's do just about 5 minutes in a group for you to talk to each other about what you notice. What do you notice that consistently gives you energy? What consistently? It's some pretty simple questions. I will drop these questions in the chat as well, so you can go back to them to say, like, if you're like, what are we supposed to be doing right now? I was eating my lunch. I'll drop these things in the chat and just spend 5 minutes, get to know each other, say hello, and take a shot at these 3 things that you noticed in your energy maps. We'll see you in 5 minutes. Enjoy each other. Welcome back, welcome back. No, I could see you for like 1 minute and then you ran away. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We'd love to hear by voice or by chat, like what are some things you noticed taking a look at your energy in this way. Please feel free to put your mic on and share what are some things you noticed about your energy?
For our room, we talked about working mainly with students that give us great energy.
Working with students give you great energy?
Yes.
Every time, every interaction with students?
Majority.
I love it. That's why you're there, right? I love that. Thank you. Anybody else?
I'm not just saying this because he's in our session right now, but when I meet with Ben, who is my grad intern, I am so energized by that conversation. I think it's a lot to do with Ben's energy that he brings into the space, but I just feel like I'm learning a lot from Ben. We have really animated and energizing conversations, and we're planning out fun things, I think, for the next couple of months. And like, that is a really energizing conversation for me.
I love
Friday
that.
mornings, if anyone needs good energy,
to just pop
Ben
in.
and I. Yep.
That'll be great. I love that. Matthew?
I'll share from our conversation, something I took away was even just kind of sussing out a little bit of the nuance of people interactions. Like a lot of times people will bring energy, and often that would come in a place where like being able to like empathize with someone really brought that energy. But then like maybe the areas of like people management or just folks coming with particular agendas to meetings that that did not have more of a like communal sort of environment were more draining. So like when people are actually having heart connections with others were life-giving, where others maybe weren't.
I love that. I love how you're so diplomatic about the other conversations. That's great. Again, some of the power of this work is just observing what's going on in your life and noticing like why am I not energized? Why do I feel drawn down when I do these things, but not when I do other things? So it's a chance to notice what's going on in your own life. We're going to move on in this design thinking framework. We spent a little time in observing one little activity of like, how can you observe what's going on in your own life? And we're going to jump right to the middle to ideation. And so I think ideation is one of the hallmarks of design thinking, getting people to think really, really wide in the space of ideas, what's possible for you. And I just really don't think we spend a lot of time in our lives in possibility. I think we sometimes spend it in probability, which can be full of limiting beliefs and sort of that negative talk, self-talk. So the way that we're going to do ideation for our own lives is we're going to take a look at 3 possibilities for your next 5 years. And again, if you're in the space right now in your life where you're like, it would be really helpful for me to focus on career, then please take this activity and focus on career. And if you're in the space that's like, there's a lot going on in life, I want to look holistically at all of those, please do that for yourself. Use these tools however it's best for you. So in the worksheets that I sent in the chat, or they're also put on the screen, there's this little framework for like a structured framework for how we're going to think about 3 plans for our lives. In the little handout I sent, there's one of these ones, 3 different lives on each page. And the structure of this is that it has the 3 different lives. And in each box, there are 5 vertical lines. And those are years 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. I guess that's 6 vertical lines. It represents each 1 year of your life. And so this is simply going to be a brainstorm. Like what could be possible for me in the next 5 years? And I'll ask you to add one thing for each, at least one thing each year. The way that we go about this, how we differentiate lives 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is the first one, it's on your worksheet, but I'll also put it up on the screen. The first life is if you just keep doing that thing you're doing. So you stay in the same field, you stay in the same work, same industry. What do the next 5 years look like? So life 1 is the current plan. Life 2 is what if you could no longer do that? And when I went to, I'll share my plan with you. When I trained at Stanford University in life design, they said, what if you could no longer work in higher ed? Not go across the street. I literally worked across the street from another university. I actually ate lunch over there a lot. You could no longer work in higher ed. What would you do? So you can't work in your industry. And plan 3 is what if money and image were no object? And so you're not worried about what people think of you, and you're not worried about money at all. This is my actual worksheet from the first time I ever did this in June 2019. I was at Stanford training with my team. We wrote curriculum at the University of Minnesota on designing your life. My first plan is career and leadership development. It's that thing I was doing. I had all kinds of questions, things I wanted to try. And I sort of wrote it all out, things that I wanted to try in my own career. The second box says quarter life coach. It's the business that I live in and breathe right now. It's a life that I had been curious about for a really long time. I knew the name, I knew the work, I knew all kinds of things. In year 3 for me, it says offer retreats. I have my 6th retreat in Southern California coming up next month for women all around designing your life. It's in the plan. And then my third one I struggled with the most, which was like, I probably would just bake a lot. I love to bake for people. It's like how I show love. I didn't really know what to do with that plan, but when there are no constraints, some people love it and some people get really stuck. So I'm going to take a word from the author. This is a little quick video from Bill Burnett about how to think about these 3 different lives for ourselves, and then I'll come back to those little dashboards. So 1 minute from Bill.
It's really important that the 3 Odyssey plans for your 5-year timelines are really different lives. You know, saying, I could be a consultant and work for McKinsey, I could be a consultant and work for Accenture, or I could be a consultant and work for Bain. That's just three versions of the same life. That's not really a variation. What you want to do is pick three that are quite different. And we have a little template for that. You can pick the thing I think I'm going to do. I'm graduating from school and I have a job. That's 5 years. That's the job, and it goes great. The second plan is, what if you can't do that? What if they decide, oh, we're not going to hire you and you can't be a consultant? Now you have to be something completely different. So if the first job dies, what would be the second idea? And the third one, which is always a fun one, is what would you do if you didn't have to worry about money? What would you do if you didn't have to worry about what people think about you? And what we discover is that when you have that much range, each of the different plans kind of helps the other one along. Each one informs the other one. And it's not so much that you're going to pick the crazy plan to execute, but that the things that come up there kind of remind you, oh yeah, that's important to me. Maybe I want to put that in the plan I actually choose.
So I'm going to share with you quick these little gauges that I'm going to turn you loose to design your own life and swim around in possibility for a while. There are little gauges on the side if you get to them in your these are often what's going on with the person as they think about these possibilities. The first, when you write a little life plan, the first gauge is, do I have the resources to pull this off? Do I have the skills, contacts, whatever I may need? The second one is, how much do you like this plan? Plain and simple, do you like it? When I see people with low like it gauges, that usually means that's somebody else's plan for your life, not your plan for your life. The third gauge is confidence. Am I really confident that I could live this life and pull this off? And the third is coherence, which on the screen it says, does the plan make sense within itself? I think it's, does this plan align with my values and who I really want to be in the world? And so the first time I ever did this ideation, like I said, I did it at Stanford training with the authors, and we get 10 minutes to design 3 plans for your life. All brainstorming rules apply. No shoulds, no limiting beliefs, no but. My current plan too, I rewrite these often, has me raising dogs and driving a Vespa here in the Twin Cities. So, you do you. Include all parts of your life if you'd like, or focus on work if that's more useful for you. I'm going to leave up my plans just so you have an example. If you doodle, if you're a doodler, draw. If you're a list person, make lists. And we're going to take 10 minutes. I'll turn my mic off. I'll turn some music on and just give you the gift of time and space to think about what's possible for you in the next 5 years. Please feel free to pop some questions in the chat, but just enjoy 10 minutes to think for yourself. I'll see you on the other side. All right, I hate to be the person who stops the ideation, and I always hate to be the person who stops the music. That's just not who I am in the world. But I want to move on and give you a couple more tools before we are done today. So if you would, I know that you're probably not finished with this ideation, but take a moment to just give us one word in the chat. How are you feeling after thinking about this? One word in the chat. How did it make you feel to think about 3 possibilities for your life in the next 5 years? It can be overwhelming for people. It can be unlocking for people. And when I trained at Stanford, they actually give you 10 minutes. 10 minutes, just get it out. I think about it with my coaching clients. Like, if you came to my kitchen table and you dumped out your backpack on my table, let's just get it all out. Like all the ideas, all the things inside of you. And for me right now, that's including having therapy dogs and driving a Vespa, apparently, along with some career stuff. But it's really fun to just, I do this with groups quite a bit. And I often have people say, I never told anybody before that I'm interested in doing this. I never said this out loud before. That's the point of getting us into some wild ideation. So thank you for coming. I'm going to take just a quick stop to take a look at what do you do with this information once you dump out the backpack on the table or on this page in front of you. You think about 3 possibilities for your life. The next step in the design thinking process is prototyping. And it's probably my favorite concept in all of this life design work that I do every day, because it asks us to try things in little, small, tiny ways to see if it's a right fit for us. So in traditional product design, prototyping is meant to build forward with increased confidence. And in life design, we experiment by putting ourselves into little new possibilities, like what would it be like if I was in this world? Let me step in there for a few minutes to see if I like it. In prototyping, we do maximum learning for minimal investment. And in life design, they say any prototype should be less than 2 weeks and less than 20 bucks. So even when we're working with students, an internship is not a prototype. That's huge. That's kind of like testing in the market. Prototype, we'll talk about what they are in life design, but it's small conversations or maybe reading a job posting or something like that and noticing the learning and reactions you have inside. The goal of any prototype is learning, and the only way a prototype fails is if you don't learn anything. So it takes away the shame language of mistake or failure. It's all in an effort for learning. What did we learn? What do you want to try next? What did we learn? What do you want to try next in that mind space of curiosity? I'm going to go to Dave, or not Dave Evans, that's the other actor, Bill Burnett, one more time to give us his thoughts on how to take your Odyssey plans into prototyping. And he mentions the 10-year plans. Imagine doing that. You can do it for extra credit if you want. We just did 5-year plans for our lives. And I will ask Bill to share with us about that.
You use the Odyssey plans to come up with ideas of things you want to prototype. Because if you remember back in our design thinking diagram, after you do ideation, these ideate up 3 different versions of your life, the next step isn't go think about it or execute it. It's come up with a prototype that you can try. So there's lots of items on your Odyssey plans, on your 10-year plan particularly, that you'll look at and you'll say, gee, I wonder if I could have a little bit of an experience or talk to somebody about this thing so I could find out some more about it. Because we don't want you to jump in and end up in a plan that isn't really a good fit for you. Because all this plan was in the beginning was just an ideation. It was kind of a brainstorm with yourself about what would it be like if I did this for 10 years. So now we need to figure out, the next step in design thinking is, how can I prototype little parts of this thing to find out if it really is a fit for me? Because I just have a guess that it is. The prototypes will tell me whether I'm on the right path or not. Sometimes it's tricky to figure out what can I prototype and how do I actually get started. It's really simple. You get curious, you talk to people, and you try stuff. Get curious, that's one of our mindsets. Something on the plan I want to know more about. Get out in the world and talk to people because you're not going to learn anything in your own head. And then try stuff. In the world, sometimes we have to do something to feel if it's right for us. We can't just think about it.
I love that quote. We have to do something to feel if it's right for us. We can't just think about it. Oh, thanks, Bill. You're good. So how I see people do life design prototypes, this is a bunch of ideas on the screen, but the key is to stay in that observing mindset. So if you do an informational interview with someone who's living that life you're interested in, pay attention to your own reactions. What are you drawn in by? What do you push away from? I see people do a lot of experiences like volunteering, be on a board, try something in a small way. How could you job shadow or try something out, observe something else work? And then a lot of lifestyle prototypes for my clients. I coach a lot in early career space. I do life design in early career, and people will prototype things like, what would the commute be if I changed my lifestyle? What would this look like if I went to a new city? Could I live in a neighborhood for a few weeks and live there instead of being a tourist? During the pandemic, I had a lot of people prototype my city. And so what are ways you could try things in small ways? I even think like changing what you consume online, like influencers that you're reading, all of that stuff changes. Like, what if I were in the... So I'll ask you to take a look at your Odyssey plans and just put a little asterisk or a little mark by 2 or 3 nodes, little tiny ideas that you're really curious about right now. So if we dumped out the backpack of your ideas onto my dining room table, what are the most sparkly objects that are probably not going to go away? Those ideas that are not going to go away for you. For me, it was coaching. I had written my final papers in grad school about coaching 20 years ago in my HRD program. And I always knew I was interested in the world of coaching and a coaching certification. And finally, 20 years later, I left my full-time job and pursued this world. That was something that always stuck with me. So think about what you'd be interested in prototyping. And next level would be drop something in the chat, a prototype that you want to try, or send a text to someone in your life to say, hey, hold me accountable. I want to try this, and ask me about it when I get home later or talk to you later. I just want to remind you as we finish out that this is an iterative process. Life design is an iterative process to use anytime that you get stuck. Just like designers continually change our services and products that we have in the world. So it's simply reflect on how your needs are changing. What has changed for you? How's it going? Ideate wild possibilities. I find with my clients, if I can get them to ideate way out here, if they choose something maybe out here, it doesn't feel so crazy. But if we just start our ideation is like, I could work in these 3 offices on my campus, that doesn't get people into ideas and looking at what's really important to them. Try stuff in small ways and then build our thing on things that are working and say no to things that are not in your prototype. So it's an effort for learning. This is me. If you'd like to connect with me, I thought I would just share some information. I am a recovering recruiter, so I'm a chronic connector. I connect with everyone all the time. I've spent 10 years as a recruiter, and I usually connect with people on LinkedIn. So if you are interested in talking more about life design, I do this as a coach. I do this for groups, and I really, really love the work. As I said, it's been transformational for my own life. If you are on a university campus and are interested in doing life design for your campus, they just opened more life design studios for university educators, and I just put that in the chat. It's the training that I went through in 2019 and built some curriculum for the University of Minnesota here in the Twin Cities. There's information in the chat as well. And I will leave it open to you or toss it back to Abby and Ben for any questions or anything I missed.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today and sharing so much great information. I know that my mind was spinning when I was doing my own model, so I greatly appreciate it. Everyone else, if you are able, give a little clapter, a little thumbs up reaction just to
Clapter. Did you make up that word?
Yeah, a little clapter. Little
I like it.
cool. If you could go ahead and unshare, I have a quick few things that I'll share, and then
Oh, absolutely.
we can put your slide right back up. All right, so here we go. If you do not know, Leadership has lovely social media content, and if you do not follow us, I would highly encourage doing so. Within those, we also do have a link tree where all of these things can be found. We do have a merch site open right now. You should check it out. The link is there for you, but there is also a QR code if you would like to scan it and go ahead and give it a little peruse or just look through it and then maybe buy something on your way out. We are accepting applications for cluster facilitators for our upcoming national sessions of the Leadership Institute. If you want to get involved, here are the dates and the locations, as well as a nice little QR code as well. The link can also be found in Linktree on our social media. And I believe, Abby, did you just drop it in the chat? Maybe. Do you have it? Abby may drop it in the chat. And then also we do have more of these virtual conversations happening, and they will continue to happen in the future. So always be on the lookout. Like I said, social media is a great way to kind of see what's happening, as well as getting on our newsletters and emails that we send out. If you would like to register, here is the link for that as well. And I think that is all. Thank you all for coming. Katie, feel free to add your slide back up so people can get your information on their way out. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.